Welcome to Alexandra Joy TV. With me today, I'm honored to be with Patricia Albere. Patricia is the founder of the Evolutionary Collective, and it is an internationally recognized spiritual teacher.
The more you surrender into this consciousness of connectivity, you become more fluid. So your sense of identity is less in here, like a little driver inside your car. Mm-hmm. Right, which is the way most people kind of feel by themselves, is it starts to get more fluid so that your sense of where your attention is more moving. And my sense of self isn't so over here, you're over there. It's more like you and I are just connected right now.
Right, which we are.
and our attention and your attention and my attention is going different places.
Right.
Together. And so when you get looser that way, then existence, something larger, starts to have more access to you. And the real creativity and the power and the abundance of what can happen is way bigger than a little engine who could.
That made goals.
Right.
For the year.
So, for example, one of the men who's been in the Evolutionary Collective almost from the beginning, super successful guy, married, kids, has like a wonderful, amazing life and is already making a difference in the world. For him, I've watched him, and as he's gotten a little more dissolved, mm-hmm. A little less...
Like over here, like we were talking about.
Yeah, a little mm-hmm. less like me authoring my life, deciding mm-hmm. and doing and creating mm-hmm. and even meditating, etc. What I've seen is that as he's become less identified with all that, he's been lifted like into a very different level of flowing with life and listening to things and being open to what's possible. So the difference that he's making is way bigger than it was before. And the joy and the fun that he's having is like off the charts. And other people where it's less like I'm making a difference, mm-hmm. like it's just, you don't even think about it. It's kind of gone. It's kind of like if you have lots of money, you don't think about money anymore. Mm-hmm. It's in the background. It's like something that's there and available. It's not something that's in the foreground that you're paying attention to.
You don't necessarily think about making it. You think about how am I going to keep being creative within the money? Like you less survival about
right.
the paycheck or something, but you...
Or even it's just there. It's like there to use. It's
right.
there to flow with. It's
right.
there to show up as a resource for something. It's not, like a thing that you're paying attention to.
That you have or don't have.
And that's what happens with this connectivity to something larger and this flow, and like you're being used by something, and it's way better.
Well, it's interesting because there's so much talk now about the flow, and I can't
right.
say the author's name is so brilliant of the flow because it's such a complicated name. I don't know if
the Rise of Superman. Csikszentmihalyi.
Yeah. So that's somewhat what we're talking about, and it's really amazing that we're in this time in personal development, the evolution of human potential, that whole movement, that flow seems to be so the buzzword.
Right, and it's moving beyond personal flow.
Yeah.
Because this is a post-personal work. It's post-personal.
Yeah, I get that.
It includes and what happens, and as you know, is this intense quality of individuation, like this intense experience of the me-ness, the distinctness, me-ness of who I am gets louder and stronger and more hooked up, but it's hooked up to something larger.
You call it essence,
And
which is different than me and my, plaque in the world. Like I'm gonna leave X, Y, and Z as my...
Or even your sense of identity as a yoga, there's still identity there, which is distinct from
essence,
like the core distinctness that you are. And when that gets really hooked up to something larger, then compromise, it's not even like it doesn't even take courage not to compromise. You just don't move that way. You can't. Because you're very precise. I mean, who you really are is a precise, distinct being that belongs exactly in the universe where you belong.
So
you're not generic.
Okay.
So let me just say one thing, because it's perfect. Because you're a beautiful woman, right? I mean, you're like generically beautiful. you'd be attracted to many men. No, to many men, right? You would be easily attractive to lots and lots of men, right?
Maybe.
Now, you would be, trust me. So the thing is that your distinctness, and women are trained, to be generically attractive, to be as attractive as you can be to everybody.
Right.
Okay? That's like important. Now, what if beauty is always attractive to everyone, but what if the frequency that you were developing was so specific to you, like you were so being Alexandra, and your particular beauty, your emanation, your way of being in the world
embodiment, right,
was completely, like from day one, you were so honed in to being so you, then men would be attractive, but the man, do you know what I mean, the one that you're supposed to be with would just go bonk. You would find them more sooner in life.
Right. It took me a while to find my soulmate, right?
Yeah.
My twin soul, yeah.
Absolutely, because that vibration would be so loud and clear.
Yes.
Even though, like a movie star or something, you'd be attractive. Like there are people that are beautiful and attractive, but you know that they're not yours. Mm-hmm. And so this consciousness develops this precision of really who you are, so that the people that you work with, the kind of creativity that you embark upon, it isn't like, oh, this will work. It gets louder and clearer, like exactly who you are, why you're here, and where you belong, and who you belong with, and what's your part, what's the particular piece of music you're supposed to be playing.
So, Simon Sinek wrote, I have the name of it, and it just start with why. He's
okay.
Start with why guy.
Okay.
He's viral on TED Talks, and it's amazing. Given what we've just talked about, taking it back to you, what would you say your why is? Your essence, your Patricia's, everything that you just said. Distinctness. Because I'm going to say it's very similar to what he says about why, and even how the brain needs to function with the why for clarity.
Yeah. Well, I would say first, the reason why I'm on the planet, obviously was always to be on the edge of things, mm-hmm. and will continue to be. But my
and the edge of the human potential movement. It's not
the edge of consciousness. It's like the edge of where
right.
consciousness wants to experiment and mm-hmm. explore. And I guess in particular here, I'm sure there are people on the edge of consciousness in India, and it's different, Yeah. But I'm an American, so I'm doing it here. Mm-hmm. But it's also having, the experience that I had, as you know, with Peter, the experience of being inside of a kind of love and consciousness and connectivity and aliveness that was so beautiful. It was almost unbearable.
Which I want to read something that you wrote.
Okay.
You said in one of your blogs on the Evolutionary Collective site, "For the first time, I experienced the limitless potential that exists between two human beings. We pushed the boundaries of love, moving through all the challenges that arise in any relationship, while traversing previously untapped potentials to our own consciousness. And from there, I was shown a new paradigm of relating possible for all human beings."
So that's the why. So I was given an experience with him, a sustained experience with mm-hmm. him that was way more than romantic love. Because we were inside a different world, and we were being transformed by that world as it was being transformed through us. And I'm clear that my why, why I'm here, is at this time, especially because this is the time where consciousness is wanting to awaken to something more than just me. Mm-hmm. The individuality part is still going on, but that's not where the edge is anymore. The new edge is what happens between people and where can we go together. And so I'm clear that I'm here to bring that depth and to do that in a very deep way. I mean, there are people here, the deep, beloved, as intimate, as beautiful, as pure a consciousness as we can stand is the part that I'm here for. And I'm sure there's people that will take this quality of unity consciousness and they'll bring it into hyper forms of creativity, let's say in business, or they'll bring a different version of it into families, or my feeling is to bring the depth of it from almost a mystical standpoint, so that it's so intense and so deep for people that then they can make the translations,
so
depending on who they are.
You call yourself a mystic, so what does that mean?
Well, only recently, because I didn't really know
what it meant.
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
I swear. I mean, when I was talking with Jeff Carrera, who's my teaching partner in New York, and he knows all this stuff, and I was talking to him about this experience of, trying to explain something, and I couldn't explain it, but I was experiencing it in full, and and he was saying, well, that's the way a mystic experiences. It's noetic, which means that you experience it in total, like all at once, and you can't kind of get your head around it. It's ineffable, so you can't put words to it in any way that make any sense. It's uncontrollable and unpredictable. And I thought, welcome to my world. That's totally my experience. And I feel like I'm uncontrollable, unpredictable, ineffable, and kind of noetic by nature.
Right, right.
And so when he named it, I went, well, that's what a mystic is. I got it, and that was totally what Peter and I had experienced, but I had never had the words for it. I didn't know that that's what.
Because mystics in history have been poets and artists.
I just had never studied mystics particularly, so like I said, the things come first. I mean, even when I was working with Werner, I had a completely teacher-disciple relationship with him, had no words for that. I just was committed to him. I felt really close to him. I wanted to sort of embody the consciousness that he was embodying.
This is Werner who started
This was Werner Erhard,
West and Landmark, right?
And I had no idea that I was in some kind of perfect, student disciple to teacher kind of relatedness. I had no words for that. I just naturally started relating to him that way.
When you track, again, the development of human potential in the movement, it's very different now. That we've talked about this, the whole student-teacher phenomenon. Can you share a little about that? Because I think that's a really important distinguishment now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the desire, that was a classic model of having the
and it still exists, and it still works. I mean, it still works in certain particular places, and if you need to get knowledge about that, or whatever.
Right. Well, the deeper part, I don't think has gone away.
Yeah.
Because it actually lives in the consciousness of what I'm doing, is what you realize. So a real student-teacher relationship isn't learning something from them. Like on the deepest level, it's a love affair. So from a deep place, you just love them, like you love God, like you just somehow love them. And whatever their consciousness is, whatever it is, you want to be close to them. You want to be close to whatever it is that they're emanating.
And even what they're close to, you want to be close to them.
You want to be close to the whole thing. Only they may be a purer version at that moment of being able to be close to, you're right, to what it's...
Where they're sourcing something.
The source.
Right.
And so for some reason, I always knew that. It was never about what we were teaching or what we were doing. It was just like whoever Werner was, I just wanted to be close to that. And I am close to that. I mean, I feel that connection internally. And in a way, that's what this is. I mean, this is really the desire to be close for no reason. To be close to each other, not like on a personal level, but like we're close, connected, intimate to each other, and then whatever it is simultaneously. And then whatever comes out of that is where the goods come from.
Right, and not even with that as the goal or intention.
Yeah,
it's kind
it's like...
Yeah, I love that. Getting close for no reason. Because heretofore, postmodern, world we live in, it's always for a reason. But that's just beautiful. The getting close for no reason. I love that.
It's interesting. And that's actually, it's the same thing with, that in a way, that's the transformation. I hadn't seen that before, of the essence of the teacher-student, of the teacher-disciple, the disciple awakened teacher, is the real, when you finally get to the point where you just want to be close because you do.
Right.
that's when the whole thing pops open, and where you experience yourself as them as me, and that whole thing happens, right?
That's the difference, I think, kind of in my exploration of that distinction is what we've done in the human potential movement is put teachers up here, and if you put them up here, then they can be down here,
That's true too.
So but you're speaking about it kind of a completely different domain, which is,
well, that's idealizing. So one of the things,
I'm not that. Let's get
right. One of the things that the ego does is it idealizes someone. It could not be a teacher. It could be anybody. It could be the man that they're with.
Yes.
So that by idealizing them and projecting the positive onto them, if I'm close to them, then that means that I'm good.
Right.
I'm validated.
And even closer to myself.
And I'm
validated. I need that to be closer to myself, which is a huge
And it's a
trap.
complete ego. It's a certain, what do you call it? Object relation.
Yes.
And then you put them down and you vilify them, and there's like a whole thing. But this is completely different. Completely different. I mean, it's to be close, and it's still, there's a respect. It's like in the domain of consciousness that we're working in, it isn't that everyone's the same, because we're all very distinct, and there can be levels of development. There can be someone like, I am a teacher in this. And so, which only means that the transmission of this consciousness lives in me very loudly. So if someone is close to me, they're close to that.
To the transmission, I got it.
They're close to,
That's
and I can
really
feel
good.
them. I can feel people. Like when someone wants to learn something, they're outside of me. They're actually outside wanting something from me, which is completely different. I can actually feel it. Like there are certain people in the EC I can feel they've slipped inside, and they are like with me. They're like inside in the consciousness. And
in
I can
the transmission.
Yeah. And I can always tell whatever their relationship with me is, strangely enough, is a relationship with that.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. And then with people inside the group, as they go inside the consciousness together, they start to be close from a very different place. And then together, like the gifts that you have, the places where you're free, where you have transmission, as they get really close to you, they will experience that.
Because it's like, I always look at it like a maypole. Well, no, but none of us know what a maypole is anymore. But it's like that connectivity.
Right.
It's even like the world, like, seems so aligned. It's one of my questions is, seems so aligned with exactly what's happening in technology. Totally. All the connectivity. And right. One of my stands in the world is matching or superseding the speed of human development with the speed of technology. Because the speed of technology has been exponential.
We have to catch up.
And
we do have to catch up.
We're doing better.
We're doing
right?
better.
Like we're doing better.
We're trying.
But it's not as fast.
Yeah,
so, let's not turn this thing into the Matrix. Let's not. Let's actually use, let's ride the current of what's happening in the world of, like you said, your family from generations moved here for a reason, the energy, the dynamism, what they could create. Yeah. And that's produced this time.
And we're here. We're also here. You just moved to the Bay Area, and I'm in San Francisco, where the technology,
exactly,
interesting, and the consciousness is there are people in consciousness, and have been working in the domain of personal development and consciousness and awakening like crazy here.
We love San Francisco.
We do. We're loving it. But also both, and I just got that. I thought that's fascinating because that was not the case in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's now there's like two streams that are like
right.
Coming together. It's interesting. That'll be interesting to actually watch.
Right.
Because you have that. You have that.
Yeah.
They've got to be together. They've got. I know.
I'm totally committed to the alignment.
It's interesting.
So just on your, because I want to uncover some of your personal stuff, which I just think is interesting. What would you say? This is a big question. What do you say your biggest breakthrough has been? Like, through your whole life, ever? Peter. And Peter is who you were speaking about before.
Right.
And you've written in your book that's coming out, which I will ask you about him.
Spring. Yeah, he's in there.
And it was the meeting of him, the relationship with him, the convergence.
It was the relationship. It was my surrendering, because I didn't take him seriously in the beginning. I just thought he's handsome and he doesn't speak English that well. You know, he was German. He was German, so, you know, I mean, I can't take this. And he was younger, so I thought, I didn't take him seriously. You know, when I first, you know, saw him, I thought I was attractive, but he undid me, and like, and existence did. I mean, love. It was that the biggest breakthrough was being able to surrender completely to love, to having love undo you, to no longer being in control at all.
And where, because he did pass away.
Yeah.
Where do you feel him now? I mean, do you feel him still in your life, in your soul, in your work?
I do. Yeah, it was interesting. I did a radio interview just before you came, and that woman on the other side, you know, who was the interviewer, she was also a real intuitive, and you could tell, I could feel her. She was like totally there. And she asked me that question because she had read the book, and she said something about Peter, and then we could just feel, you know, she was getting goosebumps, and I just said, he's so happy. He's so happy about this, that he's making a difference, that he's living in this reality. And the other thing was, I loved A.H. Almas, who is Diamond Heart, which was work that I did, and I respect him like profoundly. And he started talking about it, and he doesn't talk about these things that much. I thought it was interesting. He was talking with Cynthia Bourgeault, and they was talking about, because he doesn't have great health, and you know, he's older, and he's already thinking about the level of deep, deep, deep connection that he has with Karen, with his wife, with some of the teachers. He has a really profound, like, type Peter relationship, right? With a number of different people, and he's already like fascinated with what's going to happen, like when he dies, because the veils are thinner. You know, the dimensions of reality are not. It isn't just this solid. You're here, your body's here. Yeah. You know, there's dimensions, and it's not some weird woo-woo thing. It's more exploring how different dimensions can actually live here as reality, instead of that it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of this consciousness as well, is that there's the separation, even in that way, is getting less separate. Because that's always been a very separate realm. You know, if somebody's died and they're not here, they're not here. Maybe not. You know, maybe there's other, you know, levels of consciousness that we can be awake to that isn't displacive of being in this world.